Like, okay, girl. Nobody was asking for this. I mean, literally, if I get a warning or something, if I got a warning for like anything that I produced on this website under like whatever your weird policing policies were, I'd be like, all right, peace. You know what I mean? Like, don't, you can like make rules and regulations, but like don't like completely police what we make and like what we do on different platforms too, because they are like our work on your website is what is getting you. It's just so weird. I know, like literally how many years did we have to scream for the trans tag, and they're like, let's just like make like these silly rules all of a sudden. Like what? And like you can't have certain logos on your stream that are larger than a certain size. Like, girl, be so serious. Like, is my Capcom creator tag gonna be fine? Like, I'm not changing it. Okay. Nails are on. I am kind of wearing a onesie a little bit. Wearing a one piece. I guess you're not supposed to, after 24 hours of streaming on Twitch, you're not supposed to post VODs. I was like, or eat. Well, guess what, Mimi? I guess that's always been a rule. People are telling me that that's always been a rule, but I'm like, I just don't like that. Like, I've never been, okay, can I go on a rant here? Does anybody mind? Let me sit down and I'll talk about it. I've never been that type of, hold on. Let me get comfortable and then I'll give you my piece. I can. So I've never been that type of person to completely listen to authority. I've never been, like, even in school, anywhere, like, I don't like when people boss me around. I don't like when people tell me what to do or think that they're higher than me, that they can have some superiority complex above me. I've never been that person. I am living my life. It's my life. You're not going to tell me what to do with it. So, like, anytime that's ever happened in my life, I've never been a fan. I've never been, like, a fan of what's going on there, what is ever happening. So, like, in school, I always got suspended because I would talk back to the teachers and be like, you're not going to talk to me like that. I don't know who you think you are. Even, like, your own parents at times, like, yes, they're your parents, but at some point, what does it become disrespectful and a superiority complex with your parents? You're your own person, not somebody else's lapdog. So yeah, but when is a platform gonna listen? It's so ridiculous. It's like every platform chops it up to this like weird monopolized thing. It's like, I'm gonna make my content wherever I can go. I just don't understand like why people are trying to like boss me around. It's like, stop. I hope from the backlash they're getting, I hope they completely axe any plans that they had for today. Anyways. Are any of you guys friends of the pod? Oh my god.
Beginning operation.
Auntie, thank you for the follow.
Round one. Fight.
Thank you, Stevie. Stop doing that move. Okay.
Right. Who's next?
Round two. Fight. Pay attention.
The boobies moving. Real.
heroic as a tiger is. Earn my stripes cause you know I'm do or die with this. Journey started young, super hard-headed. Call me crazy, but you is not.
What are they called? They're called something with an F. Could you blow a kiss, please? Not for free.
You got hard, they know that I'm non-stop, I keep on pushing forward. Highly motivated, they try to say I'm overrated. If you from where I'm from,
They're called FO something. Hold on.
So I gotta take it. Too many people in my corner, so I gotta make it. I'm in it for the love of winning, spot of all the hatred. They gon' say what they gon' say regardless. Not afraid to fail, I try my hardest. Power up, the time is now, I got this. I'm on fire like the doctors. Yo, I'm tired of playing the sidelines. Gotta make my own highlights. It's time to heat up for the fight of my life. Show 'em what I got, cause you know that it's my time. Brought till I fall, boy. Give it my all, boy. Got me feeling like I can fight them all, boy. The time has come, the bell is rung. No weekends here, you know that I'm a star, boy. My blood, sweat, and tears. I've been struggling for years. I'm saying I'm one of a kind and they ain't built them like me. Vision myself a champion, one day I might be. Proud of what I see.
I can't remember what it's called.
Freedom fighter got a problem, what's the deal? Everybody know that I always keep it real. I fall down, I get up, I keep pushing still. They recognize I'm a champion. I did it all, even what they say can't be done. I wear my stripes proud, I raise my flag high, and I'ma stay free till the day I die. I've been a failure, I've been a success. I'm like a diamond, I shine under pressure. But life's been trying me, I learned all my lessons. I realize I gotta kill them.
Yeah, Rio's hot. Well, I don't really have an option now for these men because I don't, it replaces their base costume, so. Oops. I wonder, do they have it in this? Like, if I go find them, do they have this outfit on? Let's go find out. Oh my god, they do. Hi, Luke.
By the way,
hey. Wait, does that mean in cutscenes they have them? Wait, I'm dead. Hold on, wait, can we look at cutscenes with it? Stop, I think we can. Oh my god. Respectfully.
that's it? Lousy thugs.
Oh my god.
Huh? Seriously? Did I miss a spot? No worries though. No matter where you are, Jeremy's gonna find you.
Screams. Hey. Booty.
Per protocol, the deck must be spotless at all times.
Hi.
Plus, my men are due back any time.
Oh, okay, wow. Maybe Ken looks better like this. Let's see. In his sexy skin. Maybe he'll look better in this cutscene and won't look like the shrunken head from Beetlejuice.
Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Oh no! Hey, stop! Watch out!
It is not.
Safety first, bud.
He definitely looks better with his shirt off.
Wow, that was close.
That's funny. What if they made these into real skins? I'm for that.
My apologies.
What?
Where did she go? Sure is. Do you think she's hot? Oh wait, I can do my camera. Hey! Oh my. No, I didn't want to do that. Oh my god, wait. Thumbnail. Oh, sorry. We can have logos a certain size. Oh! Too soon. Fatal Frame tease. Hi, Dylan. Slenderman.
You want something? What's up?
Bro, I just want to train under Juri. Like, please. Use the master action to fight Bao Bao and beat Square. That shit. I don't want to do this. Don't. We'll do arcade. I want to get more of the art that we get from doing the arcade mode. Let's do Manon.
Because you're strong, Manon.
Oh, I didn't want to skip it. Oh, fuck my life.
Nice shot.
We'll go back. I wanted to turn up the volume. Oh!
Round one. Fight.
Wait, they need to make him shirtless. What's his name? JP? Make him shirtless. Hello. Thank you, Sapphire. Okay, here we go.
Because you're strong, Manon. Everyone's always said that to me.
Manon's so strong.
Go, Manon.
Wow, Manon.
And they're right. I am strong.
Manon, Mommy won't be able to see you anymore. But you're a strong girl. So I know you'll be just fine.
Just fine? I'm more than just fine. Because I'm strong. Whether it's in the judo ring or on the runway, I'm always the best of the best.
It's like such a caricature of French accents. I love it. It's really funny. I don't know.
Even against other styles, I always come out on top. I'm doing just fine.
Me when I'm having a breakdown, I'm doing just fine. Freaks out. This was different than last time. That's interesting.
Prepare yourself. Round one. Fight. You go. You go. You go.
Don't move.
Au revoir.
Round two. Fight.
Oh, I missed!
Manon wins. China.
pleasure is mine. I'm not gonna lose.
Round one. Fight.
Switch right, thank you for the follow. Oh. Why is it not letting me do the counter?
You need training.
Round two. Fight.
Oh. Oh.
Manon wins.
That was close.
USA.
I know her victory pose is probably one of my favorites, honestly. And I like her poses in this screen too.
Make it a scrap heap. Fight. USA.
Oop, we have a sexy man.
The pleasure is mine.
Hope you're ready. Round one. Fight.
That was close.
Bravo to a wonderful battle.
Round two. Fight.
Hi, Dynamite Sky. Oh. I'm doing good. I just started, so I'm kind of warming up. Oh my god, he's kind of gagging us this round. Oh. Is this game? Yeah, it is. I just have her not on commentary right now because I don't have commentary enabled. But she's in it. We stand. I keep accidentally doing that input. Oh god, here he goes about to spam this move. I got it! That is so fierce.
Manon wins.
Thank you, Dynamite Sky. It does not fit me, but it's okay.
Italy.
That day, as I was standing in the Colosseo, she called out to me.
Don't just stand there staring! Get down here and face me! Let's do this!
Oh my, that is certainly the most direct invitation I've heard in quite some time.
Well, I can tell. You and I are interested in exactly the same thing.
Lesbians, I assume.
The pleasure is mine.
Give me your
Girlfriends.
Round one. Fight.
Everybody in this game is gay.
Feast your eyes on my...
A coincidence. I'm quite strong myself.
Oh, not too much.
Where are you going?
Oh god.
Sweet dreams!
Bravo to a wonderful battle.
Whew.
Round two. Fight.
They trying to get you, Guile. Oh. Oh god. I haven't gotten a hit in. Oh. I don't like this side. Okay, thank you. Fuck. I don't like being on this side. I like being on that side.
Fight. Round. Fight.
Oh, I thought it was gonna... Okay, we go the other side. Nice.
Manon wins.
And I claim victory yet again. As usual, I'm more than just...
Phew! Now that's what I call a good time!
Oh, a good time, you say? Was this just a game to you?
No, that's not it. Of course I'm upset that I lost, but getting to do battle with someone as strong as you was such a thrill!
Strong. Usually I hate when people call me that. I feel a pain in my chest every time I hear it. And yet, the way she said it so bluntly and plainly, it didn't bother me in the slightest.
Next time we fight, the victory will be mine. In fact, how about a rematch right now?
Oh, why? I'm quite confident I'll win the next time as well. After all, I'm strong, I'll have you know.
lesbians, I assume. Hi, Crimson.
Thanks for playing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations.
Work, I love this poster. Fears. This is gorge. I didn't realize she had a red lip on. There's all the primary colors on her outfit. That's probably why she's iconic. Methinks. Hugo's in that picture. Rose and Sakura are in this picture. Elena's in this picture. Bring them back. And Bookie's in this picture. Dudley's in this picture. Oh my god. If they don't fucking bring back some of the icons. Sea Viper is front and center in this picture. Bring them. Cody is right there. This is the roster I want in this game. I want Sakura, Ibuki, Sea Viper, Elena, Cody, Dudley, Rose, Sakura, if I didn't say them before. M. Bison I want back as DLC. Hugo, Poison. I don't know why Poison is in here. I would actually take Bob again. Is that Bob? What his name is? One of the only, like, larger characters Street Fighter has, like, made. I liked seeing the different body types. I liked that character. T-Hawk, I would like to see back. This art is cute. Why is Cammy in Chun-Li's cooch? Why is she right in her boost? She was right up in it. Like, okay, girl, you better work. Let's do Lily's. I don't know anything about Lily. Listen to her story.
I love traveling. The spirit named Toi no Ikonoi is always by my side.
She's a great addition to the roster. I just haven't been able to, like, play her a lot. Do I seriously still don't have a package?
And its voice calls to me on the wind. Go forth, Lily. There remains so much to be seen. Go forth, Lily. The world awaits. A long time ago, there was a Thunderfoot warrior just like me. He set out on a journey to save the tribe. And on that journey, he met many amazing warriors.
Oh, is that T-Hawk?
I can only hope that's the kind of journey I have got waiting for me.
France.
Oh, she's so cute. Her faces. Love that.
I'm ready.
Prepare.
Round one. Fight.
Oh my gosh. I've literally never played Lily, so this is my first time. Let's figure out what to do. I know she has a buff.
The voice of this spirit, only I can hear it.
Round two. Fight.
One little please.
Her little work boots with the, like, fringe on it is so pretty. Oh wow, I didn't mean to do that.
Lily wins. USA.
Are the servers going down?
I'm ready.
Let me have some fun.
Hi, Luke.
Fight.
Take this.
Oof. Got him.
The voice of this spirit, only I can hear it.
Round 2. Fight.
I like literally have the biggest crush on Luke. He's so fine. Link!
Lily wins. USA. Make it a scrap heap. Fight.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Listen, Luke and Jamie are my crushes, even though they're like gay for each other, but it's no tea.
United Kingdom.
I'm ready.
No mercy for you.
Round 1.
Cammy's iconic.
Fight.
That's mother.
You okay? Did you see that? You'll never win against me.
Round
The dance is so cute.
fight.
What a great character for the roster.
You're in my way.
I will say I kind of do have an issue with Street Fighter adding 3 more men and only 1 girl for the next year and a half when the roster is already 7 women to like 13 men. Was her... Oh wow, I did it first try. Oh, that's so funny. I love that.
Lily wins. Mexico.
Awesome.
I do love traveling, but I love coming home too.
Welcome back, Lily.
So, where'd you go this time?
After all, I get to see Singing Wolf and all the tribesfolk. It's nice to be welcomed by faces I recognize. It really makes me feel safe. Now there's a face I don't know. Are you some kind of spirit?
I am no spirit. I am called Dhalsim. Allow me to test your strength.
Oh.
Round 2. Fight!
Nice.
Did you get your answer?
Lily wins!
I sense a great power within you, Lily.
That's what Dhalsim told me. I couldn't help but feel like he must have been talking about Toi no Ikonoi. I'll meet all sorts of people and get even stronger. And once this spirit has more power, I'll show Dhalsim how much we've grown. I'm Lily, a Thunderfoot warrior. My journey is just getting started.
Queen.
Thanks for playing.
Thank you for having me. Oh my god.
Congratulations.
If they don't add these characters as costumes, like the toy soldiers or whatever they were called, I'm gonna be mad. I need it as a costume, like badly. We don't need an entire character like Street Fighter 4, but just a costume would be nice. Oh, look at this art of all the girls from this game. I love this art. I love this art style. Is that the main 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, the 7 that were included. We only got 7 girls base roster, which makes me so much more angrier why we're only getting 1 as DLC. Oxzillid. But Capcom is having a presentation next week, so I'm excited to stream that and figure out what's the tea. Maybe they'll announce some further details for us for what we can expect in Street Fighter.
Practice arcade. Fighting ground. Arcade.
I've been a failure, I've been a success. I'm like a diamond, I shine under pressure. But life's been trying me, I learned all my lessons. I realize I gotta kill all my blessings. I'm working hard every day to be a better man. Practice makes perfect, and I'm already a veteran. I suffer from defeat, so success is my medicine. Destined for greatness, so you know that I'm back again. Back on my feet after I fell in. Always ready for a fight, never back then. At this point, I'm fighting for pride, I'm fighting for life. Reputation on the line.
I'm not a really good Chun-Li player,
My
so...
name is Chun-Li. As an Interpol agent, I spent many years in pursuit of the leader of the Shadaloo Syndicate, a man named M. Bison. But thanks to the assistance of numerous great martial artists, Shadaloo was destroyed, and M. Bison was defeated for good. For now,
I miss
I'm
him.
on a sabbatical from work. I've been spending my time teaching Kung Fu in the city. Sabbatical or not, a martial artist is always on active duty. I mustn't neglect my daily training.
Go on, Queen.
France.
Speaking of Chun-Li, did you see Nicki Minaj's new album is coming out in October? Bitch, I gagged.
Ready?
I said, mother is coming.
Prepare.
Round 1. Fight. Round 2. Fight.
kind of just gagged her so bad.
Nice shot.
Ready? Then show me.
An honor, to be sure. Round one.
I kind of need him with the shirtless Speedo skin.
Round two. Fight.
Work.
Chun-Li wins.
I have an itch, but my nails are so delicate today because they're press-on.
USA.
Maybe I should just use this fan. Hold on.
Make it a scrap heap. Fight.
I know. There's so many characters I want, but it's gonna take forever to get them.
Mexico.
Ready? Then show me. My pleasure.
Round one. Fight.
You need training.
Oh wow.
I did it.
I take back everything I said about being a bad Chun-Li main or player. Not a main. Did a lot of damage.
The voice of the spirit, only I can hear it.
Final round. Fight. Chun-Li wins.
I'm all in. What's the last one? Ooh.
How about you stop sneaking around? Show yourself, Juri Han.
Well, look at that. I heard rumors you'd retired, but I guess your senses are still working at least.
I'm good. How you doing?
Did you honestly think you would go unnoticed? Stealth has never been your specialty.
Oh, not her clocking her.
Don't I know it? How about we do something a little more my speed then? Oh, hell yeah! That's the stuff! I was worried you'd be losing your touch!
Your concern is touching. Well, are we done here?
Hi, Sauce.
Damn, what's your rush? Just thought I'd give you a little warning is all. If you think now the big bad's dead, this whole thing's over, think again.
Thanks for 6 months. Enjoy your new badge. Thank you so much for 6 months of subscription. Love you so much. Thank you.
Do you mean?
If you really want to know, you're gonna have to beat it out of me.
Ready? Then show me.
Time to play.
Round one. Fight.
Hi, house music.
I have more than enough for you.
Oh, that was. I like that. I like the beat. Oh. Thank you. Oh. I'm getting gagged over here. Oh my god.
Come on now.
Thank you.
A little bit more.
Round two. Fight.
Oh. Oh. Oh, fuck me.
Now you understand. Don't underestimate me.
Final round. Fight.
I'm scared. Did not mean to do that. But I guess it works.
This time I win. But
Chun-Li wins.
Me too. Happy to be here. With my logos.
I didn't manage to get any more info out of Juri. Even after Bison's death, if there's any chance of something still lurking in the shadows, I have no choice but to uncover the truth. I guess I really am a workaholic.
Okay, these hints to Bison still being alive, make it be known. I want to know if
Thanks
he's still
for
there.
playing.
Tell me about it.
Congratulations.
They were gay. I remember them wanting to push this guy as the main character, and it just did not work. Mr. Alex or whatever. This is gorgeous. Don't love that art style. Not a fan. Is this the OG roster? Cute. Chun-Li being the only woman there? Hello? Don't love that. What was I gonna do? I want to progress the story in World Tour, but like I don't want to. I just. Good morning, Cammy.
Pancration, the world's oldest martial art. Its origins date back to ancient Greece. In the arena, no form of attack was taboo. Fighters would gouge. A Pancratiast's pride was everything. And I am their descendant. What am I doing, you ask? The same thing we Pancratiasts have been doing for thousands of years. Fighting, of course. And these are all I need.
Don't love that art of her. She looked like she had no neck. That was very interesting.
Fight with all your heart.
Never played her either, so this is my first time. Jesus.
Round 2. Fight.
If you guys wait a couple minutes, you might be able to see a surprise.
Marisa wins.
Oh, I love that victory pose. That's fierce.
India.
Who's excited for the state of play in a couple days? I mean, not state of play, Summer Games. And then Capcom, and then we have Xbox Showcase. 3 presentations. Art's true. We're going into Gaming Press Week. It's happening. Type 0, thank you for the follow.
Round 2.
I'm like convinced. I'm really praying Nintendo does not have a showcase unless it's in the next couple days. Because if they do it when I have to take my flight to Australia, I'm gonna be so fucking upset. Like, you have no idea. Like, at least if they do it, can they wait until I get to Australia? Because I'll stream from my poopy laptop.
Marisa wins.
That I haven't ordered yet, but I'm going to. Really cutting it close, but
USA. Make it a scrap heap. Fight.
we need. Will they announce a Princess Peach game? A 3D Princess Peach adventure game? When they announce Luigi's Mansion 4? But like, okay, so the problem is that... Oh, here's the surprise for you guys. Just wait.
Fight with all your heart.
Let me have some fun.
Round 1. Fight.
Hubba hubba. Happy Pride. Large true. Oh, he got smacked.
That was a beautiful fight.
Round 2. Fight.
Okay.
Marisa wins.
Oh. Me AF.
Italy.
That day, I could feel someone's eyes on me. It was the first time I had ever seen her face, but I knew it right away. She was just like me. Are you really satisfied just watching? You can't fool me. I can tell. You're into exactly the same thing I'm into.
Gay. And what if I told you that exists, Cammy?
Round 1. Fight.
Such a kind.
Now then, let's do it!
Oh. Oh. I missed.
Round 2. Fight.
Oh my god, she's really gagging me. Oh my god, jeez.
Manon wins.
Oh, that's really interesting.
One more fight! Fight with all your...
I'm gonna need to stay far away because I used to put money on that game very religiously for no one, for no reason. I'm already in too many gotchas. I can't do another.
Round 2. Fight.
Not again. Okay.
Now that's my idea of fun!
Enjoyed getting yourself a win, did you?
Come again? No, that's not it. At times, a win can feel worse than defeat. But the fun part is having the chance to battle with someone as strong as you. Say, do you happen to know the meaning of Pankration? It means all of the might. There are countless fighters all across the world to challenge with all my might. And I get so excited thinking about it that it keeps me awake at night.
You know, I think I got it right the first time. You are simple-minded.
And? Something wrong with that?
No, not in the slightest.
Thought so! My name is Marisa, and I'm a pancratiast who takes on every challenge with all her might!
I think her and Manon make out. I think they do.
Thanks for playing.
I'm gonna be...
Congratulations!
What is this? Oh, it's the light from outside. That art! This art! Oh. The cat, too. How cute. I need to fix my green screen because apparently the light is coming. Their dynamic is very cute. I love it. This art is gorgeous. Oh, hi, were you? We have Mother's story to do.
Another mission awaits.
Don't worry yourself, Uni. I'm doing just fine over here.
Well, I certainly hope so. You sometimes get so focused on your work that you forget to do basic things like eat, after all.
It's all right. I'm not like I was back then. I have people looking out for me now. What is it? Why are you laughing?
Oh, it's nothing. Do you remember that charm I gave you? It's still hanging off your phone, isn't it? I just pictured it and had to laugh.
It is, actually. I'm rather fond of it. Thanks again, by the way.
Don't mention it. Anyway, good luck with your work.
Uni says I'm paranoid, but frankly, I can't believe that Shadaloo has been truly eradicated. And I find it curious indeed that it's getting harder and harder to track down any traces of their remnants. This will require further investigation.
This won't do. This won't do. That's a bore. That's insulting.
Operation.
I need more.
My pleasure.
I need. It's been a couple days. Okay. I need fabulous. Okay. I don't like being on that side anyway. Well,
Cammy wins. China.
excuse me.
Beginning operation.
Round one.
What was that move? You know what I made last night? I made homemade breaded tenders and sticky rice. Ate that shit up so good. It was so good. Like, I made it myself and it was like hot right off the grill. And I ate it while it was still hot. So like my nose was running because it was like spicy and stuff too. So I was like, this is just so good. I don't even care. Like, I looked probably disgusting, but I made a warm breaded tenders and sticky rice for my husband. Mother, you ate. Thank you so much. No, because I literally ate last night. I ate so good. When the breaded tenders and sticky rice are too good.
Cammy wins! USA.
I wish you could skip this. I don't care about this truck. Also, this face she makes, can we fix that? Why does she look like that? She literally looks like that. Emo. Poop. Are you happy to be in Petty?
Beginning operation.
Round one.
Hey, look, there's a roller coaster in the background. I want to go. Okay, that was a little unnecessary. Wait, there's Blanka plushies. Cute. No, you don't have to do that. Nice.
Cammy wins! Nice.
Oh, because JP probably. Oh, she looks hot there.
Pardon the interruption. I'm investigating a criminal syndicate called Shadaloo. I heard there may be some leads here.
Ah, I'm afraid I know nothing of that.
Liar.
Now, if you've no other business, a very hungry cat is awaiting my return.
Wait! I mean, freeze! Don't move! This feeling, I know it well. You possess psycho power, don't you? You will tell me what you know. I'll use force if I must.
You have cycled.
Cammy, the only one that gets progression in her story. Meanwhile, everybody's like, I am, and then it's like, where's the lore? Damn.
Oh, is that it then?
Round 2. Fight. Here. Go.
Here we go.
My God, he is fucking wrecking me. No, literally everybody else is gay. Okay, seriously? Oh my God, I can't even get close to him.
Does this mean your investigation is over?
JP, win!
Continuing assignment. Beginning operation.
Round 1. Fight.
Isabel, my apologies. You'll have to wait a little bit longer.
The teabagging, did you see that? Oh my God, I literally can't even get close to him. I want JP in the Speedo. I want that. I would like to see it.
Something's amiss.
Cammy, win!
Who was that man? He got away from me, but I'm certain he knows something. I've found no answers, but more things now close in around me. I wonder if I can truly put an end to all this. No, you're right. Of course I can. Forgive me. I had lost sight of myself. Thank you.
Is everybody gay?
This fight is not just mine alone. It belongs to all of us. And I will succeed. For all our sakes.
Thanks for playing. Congratulations!
I love that art. This is my background. Oh my God. Oh wow. Oh wow. They said, we are leaving nothing to the imagination here. Okay. That's really interesting, isn't it? That's literally me. No, literally I'm built like that. Where is Jamie? I thought that said Richard Simmons. I was like, oh. Maybe I need to get my glasses checked. Maybe I need glasses. Granny Q was vibing. I forgot what we said we were gonna do next stream. Oh, we wanted to make Amanda Lepore, but... Oh, we wanted to make Beast Boy. That's right. Girl, I am not... Also, apparently Bach is his, like, own character. Like, you unlock him when you beat the game. I guess? Am I understanding? I guess he's, like, a secret character. Wink mullet BF. I could be wrong. Wait, it says there's someone right there. Okay. I love Granny's voice. She literally DJF.
Where are you going? Bingo, bounty.
Whoa. I just want to go see Jamie. Is that too much? If you seek Jamie, can I go say hi? He's not even up here. Hey, my life. I guess he is. No, he's in a different outfit, so he's not in the Speedo skin. Jamie. Suck. It's over, Jamie. We're breaking up. What else do we have in a Speedo? We have Luke. We have Ken. Oh, Kimberly's here. We can trade under Kim. Hi, Pump. Oh, I almost turned back to the camera. That would have been scary for me. I just need to get a peek. Hi.
Yo. By the way.
You like building computers? Customizing PCs is a hobby of mine.
Right. By the way.
It's really interesting. Craziest build. I mean, it's not far off. Like, I know they're like all like crazy extra proportions and stuff, but people that do professional bodybuilding look like that. Like, literally, if you looked up like professional bodybuilding, some people actually look like that. I don't know if that's natural, but you know, maybe there's some drugs involved. I need to go to the bathroom, so I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then we'll figure out what to do. I like don't even want to know. I'm gonna like sit up here because it's like nice and vibes. Those emotes? Are those Nicki Minaj's emotes? Stan. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Maybe bring my phone really quick. Guys, I think Capcom sent me a Christmas tree. What the fuck is this? Guys, look how big this package is. It's like a Christmas tree. Like, what is in here? I've been waiting for this package from Capcom, but I'm like, what is in here? Hold on, let me get some scissors. I can't find my scissors. I don't know what's in here, guys. I'm so serious. I'm gagged. Hold on. We're gonna open it together. Live unboxing. It's like literally the size of a Christmas tree. Like, I'm dead ass. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Girl, if there's a PS5 in here, I'll shit my fucking pants, dude. Oh. I know where they are. Okay. Let's get into it. You guys ready? I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this for like weeks. Like, I've literally been like, today's the day. I'm excited. Guys, I need to record. I need to show you how big this is in comparison. Like, this is craziness. We just got a package from Capcom, and let me show you how big this package is, bitch. Like, it is huge! Like, don't look at the back of my head. My extensions look a mess, but like, girl. Okay. Oh my god, I'm so nervous. Like, I don't know what's in here. Why is it so big is what I want to know. Is there like a cardboard cutout? I want to go to the main menu with the main menu music. I thought that was a hickey on my neck. I was like, I haven't had sex in like 4 years. What's happening? Okay. Let's see. Let me...
Arcade. Practice. Arcade. Practice. Training. Training room. Juri.
Okay. I'm nervous! Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's open. Move it all the way over here. It's heavy. Okay. Okay, for context, Street Fighter and I did collab for the launch stream, and they said they were gonna send me this package, and before we open it, I just want to show you guys the size of it. Do you see how big this is? It is this wide. Like, it goes from all three of my monitors. I would have to say it's my entire arm's length. It is huge. So, break my green screen, knock something over. Whatever, I'm not gonna worry about it. I wanna open this package. Doing this with nails is its own beast. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I see confetti. What was that? Oh, it's them talking. There's confetti. Oh my god. What? Guys, they sent me an Xbox. Holy shit. Oh my god. It's an Xbox Series X Street Fighter Collector's Edition. Oh my god, thank you, Capcom. Wow. I'm literally gagged. I haven't had an Xbox or a new gen console in so long. Guys, there's more down here. I just broke a nail. Oh my god! They got me a skateboard! Oh my god! Holy shit! This is so cool! I am literally so gagged. Look at it, it says Chipotle. Wow. Happy Pride season. Thank you, Capcom. Wow. This is the best PR package I've ever gotten. Wow. This is insane. Holy crap. I haven't gotten anything to this caliber ever. They sent me a whole fucking Xbox, dude. I am literally... Like, what? A new challenger has arrived. Chipotle is teaming up with our team to launch the Street Fighter with an exclusive fighter coins for the US players. To celebrate this moment, enjoy this custom Chipotle X Street Fighter X skate deck designed by the community artists with clever art. Chipotle partner, Street Fighter. Wow. That's so cool. I have been wanting a new skateboard because mine has been booger. And I actually can skateboard. There's a cute little pin. Adorable. Wow, I can't believe they sent me an entire Xbox, you guys. Wow. That's fucking awesome. I don't want to, like, lose anything in here, but, like, I think this is all just confetti. I can't believe they sent me an entire Xbox. Oh my god, is this all inside? I don't want to ruin it. Like, this is like a monumental moment. I don't want to ruin any of the boxes. Okay, I don't want to be shady, but the last PR package I got was wrapped in, nothing. It came in a cardboard box and the cardboard box was beaten up. Guys, they gave me an entire Xbox. Wow. Which I'm kind of happy about because there's no reason to get a PS5 anymore, so... Oh! With Ratchet & Clank coming to PC. Where did you get the outfit? Forever 21. I'm taking off the nails. It's not happening. Today is not the day. I don't want to ruin the packaging. Well, can you guys see the packaging? It's Metro City from the game. Okay, and not them like they like asked me too. They were like, so we need to send you assets. So like, which like console do you have? I was like, I don't have anything. I only have a PC, and then this showed up. Wow. Oh my god, this is so fucking cool. Look, there's stickers from in-game. There's a magazine. This is so cool. It has all the concept art. Oh my god, so cool. Girl. Wow. This is so cool. I am literally so gagged. Thank you, Capcom. Here, let me put this down on the ground. these like cool little things I can put around my room. So cool. I'm a collector. So what's this? Oh, this is like the backgrounds for them. Cute. Well, damn. Well, damn. Skateboard is fucking cool, dude. Oh, made in Canada. So what now? This is crazy. I'm gagged. Are they releasing stages as DLC? Because this year one thing says 2 more stages. Huh. I want to see these stickers. Wait, there's stickers to go on the skateboard. I don't think I'd put them on the skateboard. I think I'm just gonna save them. Oh, these are so cute. Cute. Oh my god, Eternity. Wow.
Intercept preparations.
God, I love people sometimes for being nice and sending me stuff. Oh my god, this is so cool. I don't even know what to say. Happy Pride Month. Thank you for sending stuff to a trans creator and supporting me during Pride Month. We love you, Capcom. That's fucking insane. I love this. I know, literally. Imagine if they had something on this that was like, you cannot talk about this. I don't even know what to say. I'm so gagged. You know what I can say? My room is a mess, covered in all of the packaging. That's what I can say. This art book is it. What if in this art book they had like the next character? Oh, I wasn't done. Oh my god, there's more skateboards. There's a Jamie skateboard, a Luke skateboard, a Ryu skateboard, and a Chun-Li skateboard. And they have something with like shoes. Okay. So when now? I'm gonna open these. Luke and Kim, great picks for the statues. I stan. Oh, my green screen is fucked. That package scared me. I was like, what did I just get sent? When it was on my porch, I was like, oh no, the confetti is getting everywhere. I like don't want to throw this away just in case there's something else in here. I don't think there is though. There was a lot of confetti in here though, jeez. Oh no, the confetti is actually everywhere. Hold on, my OCD ass cannot take this. Oh. Okay. I did get all the good stuff. I'm pleased. Well, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. That was so cool. I literally have been waking up every day, like, waiting for that. I'm like, today's the day. It's happening. Hi, Harley. And you know what, guys? That I wouldn't be able to get cool shit like that if it wasn't for you coming to my streams. So thank you all so much for coming back and always hanging out here. Because seriously, making my dreams come true from just being here. Also, PSA, while I'm in Australia, I will be streaming pretty not frequently, but please, 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 so our numbers don't tank, just keep those subscriptions going. Keep the lights on. I'll still be streaming every weekend. So don't be a Debbie Downer and make me feel like shit by canceling your subscription while I'm away. Be a stan, be a supporter. You'll be able to hear about all my adventures every weekend. But Harley, thank you so much for 16 months.
Street Fighter 6.
Oh. No, I... Oh. All right. So. Oh, quite the noise there. This dog barking, can you shut up? Jesus fucking Christ. Quit it. Oh, ow, I'm being stabbed. I'm trying to figure out what to do, you guys. I feel like I've been playing the same 3 things for like 2 weeks now. I just need like something fresh. Something new, something different. A change of scenery, if you will. Let's have one game everybody's been playing. The new Amnesia game came out? Huh. Really interesting, isn't it? The Texas Chainsaw game, I need it. Not Diablo 4, you're sick. Anything you're craving? I do have my eyes on System Shock, because like I think that could be really fun to play. The like new remake. Yes, I'm picking my wedgie and you can see me do it. Sorry. I'm wearing a bodysuit. It's up my ass. I would play Diablo 4, but I don't have $70 right now to spend on a game like that. So we don't do that here. Okay, I don't want to like be TMI, but this bodysuit doesn't fit. So not only do I have a wedgie, I have a safety pin wedgie because the safety pins are what are holding the front and the back of this together. Not safe, but you do what you can for drag. Safety pin wedgie? Yeah, Diabetes is wondering. She said, hi, safety pins. The safety pins in my ass. There's a Steam sale happening right now, but the Steam sale on this game is grayed out, so I don't think it's actually happening. What the? Literally, what is happening? Oh my god. Safety and drag since when? No, literally though. We are playing that Scooby-Doo game, but I'm trying to save that for what day is it? When we do the state of play, I want to play it after the state of play. Not state of play, I keep calling it state of play. What's it called? Summer games. Yeah, I have that like queued up for like while I'm away. Well, also like I'm trying to save Tears of the Kingdom as well for while I'm away because like I'm not gonna be able to. Well, I'll have a gaming laptop, but I don't know how much it's gonna. I don't know how successful it's gonna be considering I'm gonna be like streaming on half of a monitor while I'm away. It's gonna be the most craziest shit ever, and I'm not even gonna have a ring light. I'm gonna have to use the outdoor light. I'm going to be streaming at 9 a.m. for you guys. Because it's going to be 9 a.m. there. Bright and early. Oh, did the Honkai update come out? It's not even worth like streaming. It's like nothing. It's under maintenance. Oh. Yeah, my biggest fear about when I'm gone in Australia is that people will just like, when I come back, it'll be a flop. But like, I'm hoping to have a subathon when I get home, like a welcome home subathon. And then like, you know, I'll be streaming every weekend, but. I won't be streaming as frequently as I do now because I'm not gonna be on my computer for a month. I'm like scared it's gonna be cold in Australia. Like, it's not allowed to be winter. It has to be hot. I want the... Nope. I almost said something terrible. Honestly, I do. But like, part of my routine every day is like getting up and doing stuff for like the stream. So I'm like, it's gonna be weird to like not do that. You know what I mean? Like my hand, when I'm like bored, I stream. So it's like, when I can't do that, it's gonna be weird. Ow, I just stabbed myself. You're not supposed to cut things towards your body, and I just did. Yeah, I'm fine, but $20 in my Venmo would make me feel better. This is gonna get covered in... Sorry, never mind. You heard me. It can't be worse than East Coast winter. No, you're right. East Coast winter is terrible. Hi, Kay. Girl, don't girl me. Shut up, bitch. Sorry, that's a little much. Wait, all of the plastic on her braids to keep them intact. Kind of iconic. What should we play, y'all? You know what I really want to play? I really want to play Wind Waker, but we're never, we're never gonna finish it. Start a new Zelda game. Like, let me just. Oh, she has... no shoe on, he just has pegs in the bottom of his feet. I want to play Wind Waker, but I want it in HD. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want 30 FPS bullshit on my Wii U. Like, girl, be serious. Cute. I make them make out like my old dolls. I haven't had like action figures in so long. I want to put them in here, like in this box. Even though there's backgrounds for them, but I like that. That's cute. Again, let me pick up all the shit that was just unboxed. I don't know how I'm gonna throw this all away because my family has such sticklers for throwing trash away. I'm like, girl, it's just trash. Like, who cares? Okay. I hate when we're in this position. I must just launched up Outlast Trials. That is not what we're doing. It's gonna do the first thing that comes to mind. First thing that comes to mind, honestly, is playing this game. How long is this?